Luca. So Luca is in Austria. I am in California. I haven't seen Luca in years, and we were just chatting a few seconds ago, and we both realized we thought we had worked together, but then we couldn't say what it was, and we could not remember. We have known each other. Let's not age ourselves. Maybe for 50.
Exactly, a couple of months.
A couple of months.
A couple of months.
and we have been in the same houses. So Luca is a bass baritone of international career, a star, and this is actually rare to have people who are bass baritones who are stars. You know, you have star sopranos, star tenors, you have a few star bass baritone, but very few of them. And you have worked in Covent Garden, you work at the Met, you work at the Wiener Staatsoper, you are famous Giovanni, you are famous Leporello, you have done Baroque repertoire, you have done Mozart, you have done contemporary repertoire. First question, which is a question baritone basses either love or hate. Are you a bass? Are you a bass baritone? Are you a bass baritone? Or are you a baritone bass?
Yeah, that's a very good question. And I have to say that I don't have a precise answer for you. You know, it has always been something that I had to, you know, deal with throughout my career, because it's all a question of tessitura for me. You know, I don't enjoy to be in a way too low register, and I don't enjoy if I am all the time on passaggio high notes, you know, all evening. But there is an incredible amount of repertoire I can do. And as one of my idols and teachers, when I was working with him, said to me, it has been a struggle for all my career. And this great bass baritone is Jose Van Damme. And he told me, look, you need to just be very clever about the repertoire. And he told me to develop voice singing bel canto and going into the French repertoire, and then from there try to understand what is that I you know, which repertoire I want to do. I always, to be honest, try to push a little bit the boundaries of the repertoire, because I believe, and maybe for you as a conductor it's different, but I'm sure it's absolutely the same for you. You don't know if a piece is for you until you do it.
That's true.
And maybe you do it once and you say, it's perfect, I want to do it again. Or you do it once and you say, I've done it, never again, and move on. I don't know if conductor, it does?
No, I mean, this is a good point.
Does it?
For me, yes. No, but for me, it's even different. It's like, you can never be sure a piece is for you. So Carmen, that I've done maybe 15 productions of Carmen, I always think, careful, masterpiece, and don't think you own this piece. You still have to go again into it, rehearse it again, and every performance you got to pull the piece out. So there is nothing you really own. There are pieces that resist you for years, but I find those interesting as a conductor, because the resistance is then the brain. I guess for a singer it's different, because the voice tells you if you are going to have a voice at the end of the evening or not. So for you, you know, you can sing high, you can sing low. But when you started, let's say when you started, did you consider yourself as a bass or as a baritone?
Look, when I started, I had an Italian teacher, and she made me sing the heavy bass repertoire, which was Nabucco, Hernani. And I remember at the time I must have been 21, 22. And I said to myself, is this really a piece for somebody who's beginning, who's learning?
Right.
And I was always resistant, because I thought, you know, and my struggle started when I did the third year of Conservatorio in Italy, where you have to give an exam. And she wanted me to sing Vienio Le Vita from Nabucco. And I said to myself, and I said, sorry the expression, but I said, she's crazy. I mean, if I sing this now, I mean, for the diploma, I'm going to sing Wotan, and there is no way I can sing Wotan. I mean, I always believe there must be a progression. And so I remember talking to my pianist, and I said at the time, look, I think I would like to learn the aria from Somnus, from Semele, and the Andante of Assur from Semiramide. And we prepared this for months without telling her. Eventually, I said, look, I prepared something I would like to learn. And I remember that her jaw was on the floor, and she was like, oh, I think this is great. And I always had a feeling that there are certain roles that you have to mature first before you approach them. You cannot, at age 22, 23, or 24, be ready, not only technically, but physically and emotionally to sing something like Filippo II, Zaccaria. And so I always thought it's better to sing something a couple of years later, but to protect my instrument, than to sing something that is too heavy and is going to damage my instrument. And then I'm left with a bag of nothing.
Right. But so you already, presented the things in a certain frame that I totally connect to. It's not only about the voice and the capacity of the voice, it's the tessitura, but it's not only the tessitura, it's also how do I feel with this role, with somehow almost the dramatic component of the role, the cultural resonance of the role. So, you went to Rossini at first and to these characters, but then, I mean, let's say now today, what are the characters you want to do? And you might want to be Calaf, but you realize you are more a Filippo. Or you want to be, I don't know, Michaela, but in fact you are more of a, I don't know, a Wotan. So where how do you connect those things?
Look, I have to say something that is exactly what you said. It is so interesting because, when you see Mozart, Ds for a Mozart singer are nothing special. You sit on those Ds all evening long. But
Right.
then I decided to sing the duet from Don Carlo with my father-in-law, Thomas Sampson, for a concert. Yes. And there is one phrase that Filippo sings, "Tu che sol sei un uomo fra lo stuolo uman," which is a D. But right. I remember the first time I did it with orchestra, it felt like I had to lift an enormous amount of weight. And I remember then that Ferruccio Furlanetto told me, look, it's a question of weight. And he said to me, not every note was created equal. And it's absolutely true, because a D Mozart is very easy, and a D in Verdi, especially with this role that they have such a deep personality and trouble personality, are a totally different note. So that was very interesting. Coming to the repertoire, I really think that the French repertoire suits my voice very, very well. And this is where I am trying to develop. I have to say Damnation, Les Contes of Man, and the opera for me, the opera, Péléas et Mélisande.
Of course. But in Péléas, Golo?
Golo.
Golo, not Arkel,
No, Golo, because it's neither bass and neither baton. It's right there in between. And it's really, and the thing that I like is that, and this is again what Van Damme told me, you need to have a little bit of struggle on the top, because if it sounds too easy, it doesn't achieve the dramatic intensity that the composer wanted. And so, and I think really correct. And I really think this is the repertoire that I would like to be singing for the next 10 years, and then we'll see.
Wow. Okay. And the chance you guys,
I mean, I'm sorry interrupting. I'm from Busseto, so don't you think I'm dying to sing Verdi? Of course I'm dying to sing Verdi. But you need to be, you can do it, as I want to do it in a moment where I know I can add something to it, and it makes sense dramatically and vocally. Otherwise, it doesn't make any sense. It
Right.
does absolutely makes no sense.
Right. I mean, the chance, I guess, of voices of your type, even if the definition is not totally coined, is that you mature with age, and if you manage the voice well, the voice is not tired, and so you get better and better, and you get more and more roles, because in our Western repertoire, at least, the older man has a lower voice,
Yeah.
and somehow maybe even a larger voice. So you are a very, very lucky guy. First question, you mentioned you are the the son-in-law of Thomas Hampton, and an amazing figure in our industry, an amazing baritone, dramatic, done a lot of dramatic roles. I had a little theory, just singing that duet with him is enough of a reason to be a little scared about your high D, you know? So what is that connection from, let's say, a musical point of view, or even a technical point of view, because you are sharing some roles that he has done, or you may be even sharing some role that he has done. How is that family connection working as also an advisor, a colleague, and so on? Do you go to him to ask him, well, do you think I should do this? Or, yeah, where do you put that note?
Oh, it's brilliant. You know, oh, every evening
Yeah.
before dinner we go. No, look, it's a very interesting question, and we have really different voices,
Right.
because Thomas has always been a high baritone, and you know, he sings Barber and he sang Mandrika, a role that I will never be able to sing. Right. The thing with Thomas is an incredibly intelligent performer, and
Right.
so I always pick his brain, because I always have something to learn, not only about the character, but also about the theatrical aspect, and how I can achieve what I want to achieve through the words, and through you know, and through the phrasing, the dynamics, and the colors. In terms of technique, I have to be honest with you. We share, let's say this: we share a common basis of rules and tools, but we need to solve the issue in a different way, because of the fact that our voices are different. And I tell you something: if I try in the evening to go totally il cuore vi dono,
Yeah.
by the middle of the second act, my vocal cords are going to be the size of two carrots, and there is no way I can finish. So
Right.
you know what I mean? I really have to find. We obviously agree in the way we breathe, in the
Yeah.
way that we approach, but I need to find my own way to do it, because if I try to do it his own way, it will be detrimental for me. And
Yeah.
so this is has been we agree that we need to we start from different streets, but we get there at the same time in terms of dramatic and theatrical results.
Well, and I think that that's wonderful, and it's probably, I would venture, a healthier relationship, at least in professionally, than, you know, two spouse, one is the soprano and the other one is the tenor, you know. So as family relationships, that can on stage sometimes be really complicated.
Oh, we don't fight.
Yeah,
That's a
exactly.
great thing. We
Yes.
don't fight at all, because you know, it's like we are happy to be together and enjoying this. And you know, and actually I have to say, realistically, we, not just because we are family, but we enjoy performing together because we are very sensitive to each other. So you
Right.
know, I know when,
You need
you
to have.
know, he needs to cut a note a little bit early, and I don't go to show everybody that I have, you know what I mean. And he's very sensitive in my way towards me when he does exactly the same thing. So
So
we
Luca,
don't fight at all.
I'm not going to give you names, but I I have worked with soprano and tenors that really were a very intense couple, let's say. one of them, a very, very, very famous couple, and it was Bohème, and end of first act, and they're supposed to meet for the first time. This was the
Yeah.
only rehearsal with orchestra in a very famous opera house. And then at the end, they go in the city. So they didn't know if they were going to go stage right or stage left. And the soprano pushes toward the right, and the tenor pushes toward the left. And right and left. I have enough of you. You always want to go to your dressing room and to the side of your dressing room. That is not possible. And they started having a major, major fight. And we had to stop the rehearsal. And we went to the direct
No.
rehearsal with no more rehearsal.
Oh,
And
wow.
and I have other stories like this in performances, couples that really were having a marital fight and literally pulling each other in another
Oh,
direction.
wow. No, you know, we did a world premiere together in Houston, the Phoenix,
Right.
and we worked together. And I tell you, it could have not been better. And as it was such a great period, and we had duets and scenes together. And and we were very sensitive. And if I go right and I make a mistake, it comes right, and vice versa. So
Yeah,
it's perfect. There was no such a thing as
yeah, yeah.
screaming at each other during rehearsal.
I think that's wonderful. So, Luca, what was you were raised, you spent your childhood in the city of Verdi. What was your connection, your first connection with music?
My first connection, I was 9 years old, and my grandfather was listening to a recording of Ella Jemima Moore from Giuseppe Verdi's Don Carlo, sang by Boris Christoph.
Woo.
And I couldn't, and I remember I froze because I could not believe that a human voice could produce such a dark, beautiful sound.
Right.
And from that moment, I started listening to opera, and I never stopped. And it was crazy because my first opera was in 1986. I was 11 years old. It was Aida at the Arena di Verona. And then I saw a commercial on TV with Pavarotti singing Nessun Dorma.
Mm-hmm.
And I said to my mother, this is what I want to do with my life. And from that moment on, I decided the music should be my life. And the thing is, obviously I was lucky because I was in Busseto. So I had Carlo Bergonzi, who lived there and did master classes twice a year. So every time I went to school, I would come back home, eat as fast as I could, and run to hear him teach. And I could spend the entire afternoon just listening to him teaching, quando le sarà placido, ma se me forza perderti. And I thought there was something about
Mm-hmm.
the music, the voice, that just
Mm-hmm.
I felt at home. And
Mm-hmm.
I was lucky enough to have a voice, and I was lucky enough to become an opera singer.
And
But
did you sing for Bergonzi, or you were too young at the time?
I did. And I did, and he said to me, "You're too young, and you have to wait, and you have to wait until you are 18," because I was in the period where, as an adolescent, as you know, you sing like you talk like this, and all of a sudden you go, ah! And yes, it was embarrassing. And after that, I actually start training regularly. And and I went to Milano, and then after 5 years in Milano, I went to South America to work with an Argentinian tenor, Renato Sassola, at the Teatro Colón,
Uh-huh.
because I was not singing the way I always wanted to. I
Right.
had an idea in my mind. The singing should be easy.
Right.
And so I at that time, while I was studying in Milano, I didn't achieve that. So I decided that I had to find a teacher that would help me with that. And I found this wonderful Argentinian tenor who helped me very much. And then my career started.
That is absolutely amazing. Um, you are singing both Leporello and Giovanni, which I think is, I mean,
Yes.
it's fascinating, and a lot of bass baritons have sung both roles, but Leporello is more of a bass, Giovanni is higher, and so on. Which role do you prefer to sing?
Oh, this is like having two dogs, and you ask me which one you prefer. It's impossible to choose. No, I have to say they're so different, and they are so different for me. Not only in terms of vocal range, but in terms of personality, that I enjoy them both very much. I love the fact that Leporello is this average guy that gets to live an amazing life through Don Giovanni, and he lives all these crazy experiences and has this relationship with the audience, because I love the fact that he always has this commentary. And on the other side, I love Don Giovanni, who is this center of energy where everybody in the piece revolves around, and this person who will never repent, and as this encounter with the supernatural at the end in the figure of the commendatore. And I have to say, they are such both beautiful journeys that I cannot choose, I have to tell you. But you have to admit that singing the finale of
Right.
Act Two as Don Giovanni is probably one of the
Yeah.
most exciting
Yeah.
thing that I get to do as a bass baritone.
Right. Probably yes, and I mean, if you have a comic character and you really want to emphasize this, I get you can do more of that in Leporello, but there is a depth probably in Don Giovanni that is incredible, and musically it's just insane. Um, most people, most singers, you ask about their character and the character is a very dark character, what they feel about the character, they start defending him. They start saying, he's not such a bad guy, and I understand him, and he's doing this. No, 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 I don't think he's so bad. What do you think of Giovanni himself? What is your vision? What is driving this man to crime, abuse, rape? And what is really behind this incredible life energy that is also a destructive energy?
I'm not here to defend him at all.
Okay.
I think really, I think there are certain things that are totally indefendable. I think he's a total narcissistic person who is so self-centered, and his only for object in life is to satisfy his own needs through women, and using them as things, quote unquote.
Right.
And so you cannot justify this.
Right.
But it is exciting, and there is disturbingly fascinating.
Right.
And
Okay.
so I think you know what I mean. And I think that my job is to make him so well played that people are saying, God, I hate him, but I love him. And
Yeah,
this is, I
I
think,
agree with you. And that means you have to tap into something in you that is somehow maybe positive, that make this possible and exciting for the audience, although in the end they have to say, I'm glad the guy is
is
dying,
gone.
is gone, and is not there. But there is, and somehow this is the same thing as a conductor. You need to connect to the darkness, and the darkness is not necessarily your darkness or one you embrace ultimately, but you need to connect to it. So
Oh, I so agree with you.
you
I
need to
so agree with
understand
you.
the pleasure of crime in a way, as and you need to understand the ambivalence we all have inside of us as human beings, because that movement, and I think the only thing that I would say for me is ultimately totally understandable and to which I can connect in Giovanni, is in Don Giovanni, the character is that he is trying to find an answer to the absurdity of life. And he's trying to assess something of a power of desire and nature over death. But he's looking for death because that's at the same time what is feeding that incredible life energy. This is all totally wrong. It's destructive. It's misguided. But there is something that is not negotiable there, that is touching to a certain truth. And I can connect to that. I can even connect to the madness of José when he strangles or shoots or whatever he does, according to the stage director of the day, to comment, to that madness, because there is a human truth in it. And that human truth is not an angel truth. And that's what music and theater and great work of arts can do, is they can connect us to our darkness and express it. But still, in the end, in our lives, we can control ourselves and we can be better beings and treat other beings, in an ethical way and so on. Another vision of that is the Mahler symphonies. I'm sure you have sung the Ruckert leader and all the Mahler leaders, but you have to be able to connect to the darkness of life to understand this music. Yes. And embrace it.
And the thing I have to say, the thing that fascinates me about Giovanni is the sense that he has no time. He feels he has to run because he probably has this feeling that life it's going to go by so fast that he's trying to to run after it and to achieve as much as he can in the amount of time that he knows he will be on this earth. And right. But I have to say for me is one of the most amazing things that I get to do as a performer is to go into the dark side. That doesn't mean that I go home and I treat my wife poorly, but it opens up a world of deepness in what we do that is really astonishing sometimes. Because right. when you do a role like Figaro, who is a good guy, it's right. great. But you realize that it's the struggle creates something interesting, and it's the struggle between good and bad that really make us see things that we will not be able to see. So for me, Giovanni is an disturbingly fascinating character, I have to say.
Right. I would even venture to say that probably you are nicer to your wife after being such a bad character on stage, because you could act out all the darkness and then the good. The good comes
true.
out.
Absolutely true. It's absolutely true. Also, my wife, she would not ever allow me to be
I don't think you would get away with it. So for me, the only piece where I get dark in between rehearsals is Mahler 9. Whenever I'm rehearsing Mahler 9, I'm tapping in things that are so essential. It's actually not a dark piece ultimately, it's you have to accept the limitation of your own life on earth and embrace eternity through nature and a certain sense of time. But that is so deep that I get really in a somber mood when I'm rehearsing Mahler 9. Maybe it's because I need to conduct it better, so I need to do it again. So how do you prepare? How do you prepare? Let's say one, a role you have never done, and two, how do you prepare for a Giovanni or whatever, an Escamillo or a Golo that you have already done?
When I do let's say a role that I've never done, there is a sense of freedom in my opinion, because when you do a world premiere, there is no such a baggage of, if you call it that way, of history to where you have to confront yourself with, right? And so obviously I'm very, you know, I believe in studying early. I believe in time, in the sense that I was never somebody who studied something in the last month. I was never able. I feel like you need to study and let it be for a while, digest it, go back to it, lead it, because like this you can mature it, you know, especially for pieces where you know that the rehearsal period is going to be very short and you don't have time to experiment.
Right.
So this is what I do with any role. With a role that is much more known, like Don Giovanni, I have to say I do a lot of research, and I do a lot of research because I believe that we need to know, as a performer, you need to know a little bit of the history of the role and how different singers have approached the role. And this is not about copying by any means. I don't copy, but this, I think, gives you such a wide range of possibilities that then, once I see what was possible, I can push myself to go, and what can I bring to the piece that is new? And this really is helping me to find my own reading of it and my own interpretation. And you know, for example, I did Count in Nozze di Figaro, and I found a reading in Salzburg a few years ago that it was comical. It was a little bit not very intelligent, and the best compliment was my father-in-law, who came to a performance and said, "You know that scene? I never thought that you could play like this, but it was brilliant." And that's exactly why I do this job, to find, you know, these little details that makes it, that people are going to say, "Oh, Luca did it like this, and it was move." And this is why I do it.
Right. And I think those masterpieces, they allow you to have so many different level of reading. There is a richness in it. And when you think you have understood what a character is about, what a line is about, all of a sudden you say, oh my God, I can put the shade here a little, and this is going to give a total different dimension. And in fact, the character that has the upper hand in is this one, not this one, and so on and so on. Which is not the case, for instance, for a character like Escamillo, that has been built from the beginning as a caricature of, you know, ego, selfishness, and self-centered. And Escamillo is, according to everybody who is singing it, almost impossible to sing because it's low, it's high, and so on and so on. Major role for José Van Damme, who owns the part, maybe Raimondi more on the bass side. How do you feel about Escamillo?
Sam Raimi.
Sam Raimi too. Yeah, bass, another bass.
Oh, I hated it, and okay. I hated it. I hated it, and I did it twice, and I will never do it again. I hated it because in terms of writing, it's impossible. It's high, low, and you come out and you have the aria completely cold, and then you have the duettino, and then the little thing with Carmen at the end, and you can only disappoint people because people have this expectation of the macho. Yeah. But the problem for me, a part of the vocal part, is that dramatically, it does not have a journey.
No.
And I really realized that unless I like the journey that their character does, right, I don't know what to do with it.
But I think you're in good company, because Bizet not only hated the character, but Bizet sort of was a caricature, and Bizet was mad at the audience when they liked the aria. He said, they like this, how they can like this? It's an image of vulgarity. And I mean, it's stylized vulgarity and so on and so on and so on.
Yeah,
But
of course.
it was very disappointed in the fact that was one of the most, popular aria. It's like Ravel with his bolero, come on, stop talking about the bolero, or Darius Milhaud with the La Création du Monde. Please, that I've written so many other pieces that are more interesting pieces.
Interesting.
So that's exactly what I was getting at. This is a character that in the end is just a 1-0 character, a binary character.
Correct. And and for me it's always been much easier to for example, Golo is much longer, much more rhythmically complicated. It's such a difficult piece, but he has such a journey. There is such a range of dynamics. There is such different colors that it makes it much shorter for me and much easier. So I said, I tried it, I did it, never again. Escamillo, never again. That's it.
And I mean,
and I'm very happy because I think because I think as a performant, you have the right to try, and then you say, look, I've done it. It's not for me. But because if we are not allowed to push our boundaries and to try something and fail, it will be a disaster. Instead, I think I'm very happy because now I always thought, I don't think I will like the role. Now that I've done it, I can totally tell you that I don't like it.
You know what? Maybe you would do it in concert. That would be another story. I don't know. Maybe we should try to do that. When you do concerts, galas or with arias, where do you go? In which repertoire do you want to go in general? Let's say you have a total choice, and it can be from Baroque to Verdi to contemporary. What is guiding your choices?
I would like to have to tell a story. Because as you know, I do recitals, and I always try to find a connection between what I'm singing. And I always find this very important, especially because I'm Italian, and Italian don't have such a profound history for programs and songs in the leader, right? For us, concerts are mainly aria. So so if I had to choose a program, I would show a little bit the journey that I've done with my career. So I would certainly start with some Mozart, because I mean, this has always been the cornerstone of my career, and then do some Rossini, and then do some French repertoire, and maybe doing as an encore maybe one aria of Verdi, begging for the clemency of the audience.
Oh, no, but also you can actually try. I mean, that's what I've seen with a lot of your colleagues. You can try repertoire that maybe you think is going to be too taxing on stage, but here you have the orchestra in control. You have just the aria, and it's a little easier. So you mentioned songs and leaders. It is a different approach somehow. If you sing Schumann, cycle, or Brahms, or Schubert, how do you prepare yourself for this? Do you like to sing that repertoire at a different time than when you are, let's say, in the middle of a run? Is it easy for you to switch your brain and your voice from leader to major operatic singing?
It is a challenge, I have to say, because obviously, to perform in an opera house where you are, in a huge settings with 3,000 people, with a huge set, and they make you sing, 20 meters in the back, and you have 60 people in the orchestra. It's certainly a different way of producing the sound than being at Wigmore Hall, where you can whisper and everybody can hear it. But I have to say that for me, it's been an incredible journey, because I learned so much in the song repertoire about pushing the boundaries and trying to exaggerate the dynamics. And I took this into opera because a lot of time, and I probably, you agree with me, that the set, the situation, the chorus, the location, we tend to then do an incredible amount of work musically that then gets lost by the time you open. And the fact that I did song, it really forces me to say, oh no, we decided that this is in piano. I know you think they won't hear you, but do it in piano. And I have to say, it made really my, improved my musicality in the world of opera. Because when you do songs, it's you, the piano, and an audience, and you realize that you have 2 minutes to tell a story, and you better do it as well as you can using as much dynamic, as much color as you can. And so I really decided to take that approach into the opera world, because I think we all realize sometimes that I mean, I realized that singing opera is not just about producing a loud sound. It's about also respecting what the composer write. And a lot of time, you know, stuff that I used to sing mezzo forte, all of a sudden, you know, you realize that there are 3P. So if you have a very good conductor who says, I really would like to do the 3P, and you know that you can do it, then you think, you know, I have achieved something interesting.
Right. So I totally agree with you. And I think in the end, it pays off tremendously, even with an audience that is not necessarily sophisticated and knows the leader repertoire. I think all those shades, those variations, these really palette of different colors that you have to use when you do songs or leaders. If you are able to use them in the opera world, this is absolutely going to pay off. With time, you learn also which colors you want to use and which ones, okay, there are priorities. For me, the equivalent of that is the experience you have in the symphonic world as a conductor is going to be incredibly valuable in the pit, and vice versa. In the pit, you have
but this is, sorry interrupting, but this Muti told me this when I was studying in the Conservatorio in Milano, and I remember he said, he kept saying, go to concerts, and I really said, why? And then, you know, the phrasing, the color, the different, I mean, I learned so much just going to listen to a Beethoven symphony cycle.
Yes.
Because then when when you sing them Fidelio, you go, oh, I can hear this. Oh, I know what he wants here. And
but
it's really amazing. I agree with you completely.
Not only Fidelio, even, you know, a Rossini or an Offenbach, that sense of discipline, layers, at a very high level, all of a sudden, well, actually, my Hoffman is going to be more impressive as a conductor if all of a sudden it's really placed together, if I voice it right, if I have a sense of the arch of the phrase, even though maybe the composer didn't put it, I'm going to put it there. And I'm going to have some kind of architecture that's going to help the dramatic process.
Yes.
Vice versa, you can find yourself, you know, with orchestras that do only symphonic, or even conductors that do only symphonics that cannot tell a story. And having told a story again and again in the pit and on stage, you can't just go there and say, oh, it's starting, oh, it's modulating, oh, look at the little solo of oboe, oh, it's finishing. No, you say, oh my God, there is something developing here. Maybe it's going to go there. Oh, no, it's going here, and so on and so on. And those qualities, you know, they go together. And actually, for me, if I'm really, really working too much, I said, let's work more, but let's do something different. So I do a Beethoven symphony that's going to relax me from a Carmen, and vice versa. And I think we are very, very lucky in that way. You're lucky.
Yeah, for me, it's the same. For me, it's the same. For example, I did Pizarro on La Scala, and you know, I was terrified because obviously it's a role that everybody goes, but Chung said to me, look at the dynamics in the duet with Rocco. Most of the time it's double P. Yeah. And he says, and we try to find a way of being evil, but being very normal and very, you know, Schubert-like, because he said, and I completely agree, that Fidelio is much closer to Schubert than it will ever be to Wagner. And so it says you can actually use the same language to try to convey it. And I agree with you that I always say to the young you know, singers, go and try to be a sponge and take as much as you can, because this really will affect the way that you look at you know, when you look at a piece of music, you know, it will all these sounds and structure and modulation will decide how you look at a piece of music.
Right. So you're talking of passing, you know, your knowledge to other singers or colleagues, young colleagues. It leads me to the question of the future of our industry. Our industry has been damaged by this pandemic in ways I think the general public doesn't understand. I mean, a lot of people and a lot of businesses have been hurt tremendously too, but our industry is really suffering and is going to be changed, I believe, forever, sometimes for good, other times we don't know, by the pandemic. How do you see the future of opera in the world with new technology, with the fact that we are not maybe as popular as we used to be, with the fact that gathering in a room is maybe not the best thing for the years to come?
Yeah, it is. It is really a tough. Those are tough questions, I have to say. And I'm Italian Catholic, therefore the future is always dark. There is no way for me. No, but jokes aside, it is. It is. I can see. You know, I've been. This year has been my, you know, 20th anniversary from my debut. And I can tell you that the industry in my 20 years has changed tremendously.
Yeah.
And I can tell that there is really a shift. And I don't know, you know, I have no solution, but certainly find that people have a much shorter attention span, and you know, they see this as entertainment, when I saw this as a life-changing experience.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when I go to see a performance that is a piano concerto, a symphony, or an opera, I go there to enrich my soul. I go there to listen, to let the music help me understand things that are happening in my own life.
Mm-hmm.
And all of a sudden there is a modulation, or there is a solo horn that makes me cry, you know, like a pathetic guy in the middle of the hall, but that makes me understand, you know, my human nature. And I find that we are losing this, really. It's not about being entertained for an hour. And I have to say, there are moments for me, there are so, where I was so vulnerable. For example, singing the Count in Nozze. And I would get to the end when he says, Contessa perdono. And I remember the first time I did in America, they, at the dress rehearsal, they put the subtitle and everybody started laughing. And I tell you, as a performer, I was like somebody just punched me in the face, because I honestly believe that in that moment, because of the music, he is honest.
The sincerity.
I'm not saying
incredible.
Yes, easy, sincere. You know, what happens 2 hours later, the next day is another conversation. But in that moment, the Count says, honey, I am sorry. Yes. And he's honest. And for a second, you see, oh, look at the soul of the guy. For a flash, you see it. And so I said to them, can you please remove the subtitles? And guess what? Nobody laughed.
No. So this raised several questions. I totally agree with the utmost sincerity of the Count there, and the sincerity of Mozart about human condition. and then Sanremo, tutti contenti in the end. Okay, we have to move on, but this has happened, and everybody knows something bad has happened, and you just move on. And there is a truth, a human truth in this that is so touching. I connect very strongly. Let's leave the question of subtitles, because subtitles, they can kill a total opera. You know, I mean, that's obvious. And I now, as a conductor, I prove the subtitles because I want to.
Good for you.
You know, I want to see what is their experience of the piece. Come on. I mean,
because, for example, the first time I did Leporello, and when he says oi bo, tempo non ha, scusate, and the subtitle was he's too busy, and I was like, no, guys, he says he's running out of time, which has a different meaning, you know, total different meaning in Italian, right? And so I agree with you. Good for you that you approve them.
And so I would say what you say about entertainment versus something that is essential not only at a musical level, not only at an artistic level, but at a human level for a society, at a spiritual level for a society. I think I face that our civilizations are always going to understand this. The change needs to come from our industry. And our industry needs to adapt to this and find ways to connect to people that are different. But the incredible value, truth, force of a good concert with those amazing geniuses from the past or from the present that are really pulling everything that is inside of us, the truth of the universe there in front of you to just experience in all its ambivalence, in all its shades. That is extraordinary. Nothing else can express this. And if you don't have this, you're missing something in your life. So I am optimistic there is a path. I'm afraid the path has also to come from a certain reform in ourselves as performers, as businessmen of this industry. And Luca, it's certainly not the two of us in 2 minutes who are going to find a solution.
But I have to say this little thing. You know, I've done a lot of meet and greets after, like, dress rehearsal, because I wanted to meet, I don't know, young kids. They come, and I went to schools, and I tell you, they are all available. They're all ready to understand that this, it's us. We need to make them connect this to them, because I tell you, I sang a Donaudi song in a school in New Jersey, and I had 40 people that never even heard, 40 young kids that they never ever heard the word Donaudi, that they looked at me like I was a guru. And I really said to myself, you see, it's me. Yes, I couldn't believe it. And, you know, I grew up with this music. And for me, it was, you know, it's the most natural thing. But I really realized how privileged I am, because I was always exposed to this. These young kids are not exposed. And I really make an effort, because I think it's our duty to go there and to say, listen. And, you know, and if 10 of them are coming and they feel that their life is transformed, we did an amazing job.
I totally agree with you. Luca, thank you so much for your time. Enjoy.
Thank you very much.
Enjoy winter in Austria while I go to the beach.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate it.
Me too. And I can't wait to be doing music with you. Thank you so much.
Me too. Thank you so much.